Welcome everyone to the Purpose Hangtime podcast. It is your host Leon and my co-host
Ricky Pan.
And here with the main purpose of this podcast is to discuss interpersonal relationships, whether that is romantic with your lovers, whether that is platonic with your friends, whether those are familial ties with your family.
So sit back, relax, come listen in and hang with us.
Two guys shooting the breeze. Welcome everyone to the Purpose Hangtime podcast. We're back again, new year, fresh ideas and a fresh series called Refining the Connection series. And the purpose of this series, yes, we normally talk about your interpersonal connections, whether it is platonic, whether it is romantic and whether it's familial. But in order for you to really galvanize and make these connections as solid as possible, there are also things and ideas and mindsets that you need to improve on regarding yourself, which brings me to the topic of this episode, how to break out your comfort zone. So that's our brief introduction. We're coming back from a Christmas break. It's a brand new year. I enjoyed myself, managed to get my jerk chicken on, managed to, get my family time and spend some time with my loved ones, especially my significant other. How about you, Rix? Like, how's it been going? How have you been enjoying the new year? New challenges, which I know we'll go into a bit further detail later on. New challenges, new ideas, new mindset. Tell me about what's going on with you.
Yeah, it's been a great start to a new year so far.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, we'll delve into this a bit more later on in the episode, but I am currently in Copenhagen as of the time of this recording. It's not too bad weather today, so yeah, no, it's been all good. As you said, fresh start, and that we'll be delving into why we particularly chose this topic today, because I think we've both made some major decisions over the past couple of months. That's kind of led to us breaking out of our own personal comfort zone. So yeah, looking forward to this episode.
Yeah, which should be really, really good. And then just so that the audience knows, I know some of the audience is listening to us via Spotify and our other platforms, but we've also, in terms of breaking out the comfort zone, we now got video, ladies and gentlemen. We're testing this out using Riverside FM. So could we get some claps for that? Yes. Yeah, let's do it. So, delving into today's topic, breaking out the comfort zone and its relevancy. So, both you and I, Rix, we've started up new jobs in our relevant areas. And when I say relevant areas, it may not even be areas where it's, where we're accustomed to. So, I've started off in industry, so I was an academic scientist, and now I'm starting off in industry, which is fast-paced. It's very, very, when it comes to getting the job done, there's a lot of collaboration, there's a lot of, and the money is at an abundance or in an abundance. So, it's completely different to academia, where you can essentially hide in the cracks. And I've been enjoying it so far. We're now at 21 days to the 3-week mark, and it's been refreshing, it's been new, it's been giving me a new sense of purpose, So that's my thoughts in terms of that. And plus I moved in with the girlfriend. So this stuff behind me, it's all practice work. This is just the office room. We're trying to get things started up. So yeah, it's been a blast, and it's been nice to be outside that comfort zone. So Rix, how about yourself? What's new, what's fresh? I know, but the audience don't know. So let's start off with that.
Well, basically, I was at my previous company for almost 4 years now. Loved the company, loved the people. But it came to a point where I needed a new challenge, and I'm at a new company as head of sales development, kind of my first managerial position. So I've never managed people before, but it's been great so far. Because the previous company I was at, it was kind of, they already had kind of the processes, frameworks in place, whereas this new company, in a way, I'm starting from ground zero, but I get more say in how to implement certain frameworks in terms of, implementing new technology that's going to help me and my team in doing our job, but also going into, manager meetings, strategy as well. It's been great so far. There's a lot of work to do,
Yep.
but enjoying it so far. And you know, when we come to that part of the podcast,
Mm-hmm.
for our listeners that are familiar with it, we're going to be delving a bit more into both our stories. But
Yep.
as
Mm-hmm.
with tradition on the Purpose Hang Time, we're just going to start with a brief definition, and there is a
Mm-hmm.
disclaimer alert. There are going to be some psychological theories that we're going to throw in there. But if
In
you do have
purpose hang time fashion, of course.
Yeah, absolutely. But if you have any questions or queries, just send us a DM on Instagram, and then we'll be able to redirect you to those relevant sources. But let's just start off with a formal definition of the comfort zone. Now, this definition was coined by Judith Bardwick. So she is a highly regarded speaker and business consultant, where she combines psychological research and applies it to practical business situations. So some
Mm-hmm.
of the work she's been doing include the likes of IBM, HP, and Johnson and Johnson as among her many clients there.
So these are big companies. Okay.
Really
So yeah.
big corporate companies there. And she defined the comfort zone is, to quote, the comfort zone is a behavioral state within which a person operates in an anxiety neutral condition, using a limited set of behaviors to deliver a steady level of performance, usually without a sense of risk. So, Leon, how would you kind of read into that?
So essentially, the comfort zone is where you feel the most relaxed, where you feel you don't particularly feel challenged. It's one of those areas in life where it's so easy to allow the comfort zone to just encapsulate you.
Yeah,
It's where all your pillows lie. It's where your bed is. Now, obviously, for every single different person, there's a different comfort zone, right? So
yeah,
let's say, for example, I'm very used to the action of waking up on a Saturday morning, as it is Saturday right now, and going to the gym and doing the same workout where I just do 100 squats. That's the comfort zone. But the thing is, are you really testing yourself? And does
mm,
that lead to you really improving your your squat limit? Does it allow you to improve your muscles when it comes to the quads and everything in terms of your legs? Yes, it may do so in the beginning, but then you will plateau and then it's no longer a challenge. So,
exactly.
so using that as an analogy, that is the comfort zone, right? It's something that you're very, very comfortable with, something that you can do relatively innately. It doesn't challenge you. And unfortunately, many, 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 many people in this world at this current moment delve in that comfort zone. Now, I'm not going to say that as a negative thing because it's not all wholly negative. Like sometimes the comfort zone is, a sense of stability,
Exactly.
in which stability is always a good thing as well. But there has to be a balance. There has to be a balance of you trying to improve yourself that 1% or that 0.5% every day, if you can, that is. But then also, ultimately, it is your life to lead. But here at the Purpose Hang Time, we're here to improve everything, right? We're here to improve those interpersonal connections. We're here to improve ourselves and we're here to refine that connection with ourselves. So that 1%, think of it this way. If you're to improve yourself 1% each day for a whole year, 365 days in a year, right? You can correct me if I'm wrong, or if you want to go with the scientific 364 and a quarter.
No, no,
But,
no, no. We
you
don't want to
know,
get too fancy for our listeners.
well, that's more the physics side. So, I only deal with biology here, biology and chemistry. But
Well,
if
fair
you
enough.
improve yourself that much, that's 365%. How much of a drastic change would you see by doing that?
Exactly, exactly. And
You
it
know?
can just be like small baby steps as well, where we're not asking our listeners to take one massive leap tomorrow. It could just be
Mm,
small incremental steps, and then when you get more comfortable and you become more familiar with it, that's in a way you're kind of going on that right pathway to leaving your comfort zone, though you
yeah.
may not realize it at the start because you think it's baby steps, but you're
Mm,
heading into a certain direction, which is
mm-hmm.
true. And what you mentioned about plateauing out as well. There is a graph which we are going to be posting on Instagram, and it's
Mm-hmm.
basically the Yerkes and Dodson's law. And what it
Mm-hmm.
states and what it shows is that performance increases with physiological or mental arousal, but only up to a certain point.
Mm-hmm.
So when you reach kind of the top of the hill or the plateau of the hill, it then begins to not only flatten out, but then
Mm-hmm.
it begins to decrease there as well. And that's where you kind of enter the panic zone where you feel so
Mm-hmm.
comfortable, there's nowhere else to go but you know downhill in a sense,
Mm-hmm.
um, in that regard. And I think that the main thing people fear of leaving the comfort zone is the unknown, right?
It's the fear of
And
failure, right? So the unknown
exactly,
and failure. Mm-hmm.
exactly. Now there also is another interesting graph which we'll put up again on Instagram, and it really shows that in order to escape the comfort zone, you have to go through the fear zone, and it's only within the fear zone that you really experience, and that's where you really grow and learn. Because we always say that failure it's not the end of the world. In the way you see failure is going to be very important. If you see failure as opportunity to learn uh, from your mistakes,
Mm.
then that's I wouldn't class that as utter and out failure. It's kind of more of a lesson
No,
lesson learned, for example.
exactly.
And
Mm.
and you would have to transition to the fear zone, so you have to face your fears, and then once you persevere enough you can then transition into the learning zone, which where you actually learn from your challenges and problems. Okay, I did it this way, I failed, but next time I encounter the same problem issue, I'll do it this way. And that's
Mm.
where you get to acquire new skills as well. And then
Mm-hmm.
once you've acquired that new skills, you can then go into what we call the growth zone, where you can actually set your new goals, or you can actually realize, your aspirations, and in a way, you kind of begin to find your purpose in that sense. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
hence the title of the podcast, "The Purpose Hangtime."
Yeah.
Um,
I got a question for you, Rix, before you
yeah,
continue. So you just explained to us the comfort zone, the fear zone, the learning zone, and the growth zone. How
yeah.
many people, or what percentage of people, do you think leave the comfort zone or take a toe out, go to the fear zone, and then bounce back into the comfort zone?
I mean, you can't plug those numbers.
Mm-hmm. But if you were to
Off
take, let's say, our general circle, how
our general.
prevalent is it? How many people are willing to reach that learning and growth zone?
Well, I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna put a statistic on it because it's too difficult. But I would say very
Mm-hmm.
few are willing
Mm-hmm.
to dip their toes
Mm-hmm.
out of the comfort zone and into the growth zone. So
Mm-hmm. And would you also say, okay, so when you're leaving the comfort zone to go into the fear zone, the further you go outside those zones, the easier it becomes? Or would you say that it's a little bit more difficult?
um,
I'm not trying to do the mental gymnastics here, but just general
yeah,
conversation.
thanks. Sorry,
Because
could you
because you
just
brought a
repeat that
very good
question?
infographic. Oh,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
when you're coming out would you say that,
yeah,
okay, so you got your four different zones. You got your comfort,
yeah,
fear, learning, and growth. Would you
yeah.
say it once the further you go out of those zones in that particular order? Would you say the easier it becomes?
Yes, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
And it's literally in a way you're kind of training your mental state and your emotional state as well.
Because I'm assuming that comfort to fear zone is where you have the most anxiety. Going back to the previous
Exactly.
infographic with the Yerkes and Dodson's law, but as you move further out, because I know that the two different infographics are linked together. As you move further out, that anxiety drops, and
Yeah,
then you realize, hold on, it's actually not that difficult, to carry out these experiences that I'm trying to grow from.
exactly.
Mm.
And yes, oh, apologies, you can hear the church ringing in the background. I
So
I
right
am
when
staying.
when
Yeah.
when the
near the
bell
church,
tolls.
near a church.
It's all good. It's
um,
all good.
but yeah, no, I totally agree with kind of your point there. When you go through these zones the first time, it can be quite daunting, but second, third time,
Mm.
fourth time is where you actually get used to it, and that's where the beauty about the human mind is that it can be trained, right? It can be trained to do wonderful things.
Yes,
Um,
neuroplasticity
yeah, well, that's your
for
area,
the
man.
scientists out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's neurology. Didn't like that back at uni.
I come from a sales background, so yeah, that just all flies over the top of my head. But yeah,
But
go back on
essentially,
point. Yeah,
sorry to cut you off there, Rix. Just keeping the conversation going. Essentially, if you look at, well, if you want to call it neuroplasticity, or the brain needs to be trained, or it can be molded, it's essentially just like training a muscle. The more you do of something, the more accustomed you get to it, and the less anxious you get about doing it.
exactly.
So essentially, listeners, in terms of overcoming the comfort zone and being able to jump out that comfort zone and be able to embrace that fear and not being scared of failure, is something that you have to take those first steps and then repeatedly take those first steps, and then doing something new becomes something that you enjoy doing because you reap the
Exactly.
benefits by doing something new, something novel.
Yeah.
Humans are not built to be doing the same things over and over and over and over and over again
Okay.
without,
Exactly.
without moving forward. Hunter
And
gatherer's instinct.
and that kind of links to the benefits of leaving the comfort zone,
Mm.
and the first one is self-actualization, and self-actualization for those that know Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs. That's the top level. For those that don't, it's basically a pyramid where there are three basic needs that need to be fulfilled within a human. One are your basic needs,
Mm-hmm.
like your physiological and safety needs, like food, water, warmth, sense of
Mm-hmm.
security. Then the next level up is your psychological needs. Esteem. Do I feel a sense of accomplishment in terms of relationships, intimate and both friendship? And then the final top tier is self-actualization, and that's when you actually meet all your psychological and basic needs, and then you can actually go and reach your full potential.
Mm.
But again, meeting the basic needs, it's kind of more the comfort zone. The psychological needs is where you kind
Mm-hmm.
of have to delve out your comfort zone a little bit,
Mm.
because we've talked about relationships before in the past over our previous episode. You have to do
Yes.
something a bit different to affect a certain situation in a positive way, right? And that's
Mm-hmm.
kind of leaving the comfort zone. Like, oh,
Mm.
I've never tried it this way before. I should
Mm-hmm.
try it. See what happens. And that's where you really get to, once you do that, try out new things. That's where you really get to be on the pathway into realizing your full potential.
Yeah.
Taking different theories, methodologies, taking different views, opinions, meshing that all together, that will help achieve
Mm-hmm.
it.
So
Second,
essentially,
yeah,
what you're trying to do is, or what you're basically stating, so listeners, if you listen back to the Green Flag series and you look at the communication episode,
yeah,
communication is key in terms of that middle part of middle part of the pyramid, which is the belongingness and love, so the intimate relationship with friends. And if you also look at the attachment theories as well, and attachment in general, having that strong connection or that secure attachment will allow you to move a bit further in terms of the pyramid. So it all mixes together, it all culminates together, it's all a part of the same puzzle. It's just getting those pieces of the puzzle connected together.
exactly, exactly. And the second benefit of leaving the comfort zone is the development of a growth mindset. And a psychologist from Stanford University, Carol Dweck. So she conducted research, and the results were she found two different mindsets. You've got your fixed, and then you've got your growth.
Mm.
So, with a fixed mindset, people believe that they only have a certain ceiling when it comes to their abilities and the ability to perform certain actions, for
Uh-huh.
example, or lead to a certain outcome. So
Mm.
they always feel that, okay, that there's nothing more I could do within a certain situation.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes you kind of feel limited and always at a certain level.
Okay,
Whereas,
so is that kind of like a Groundhog Day sort of situation where it's like, okay, well, I'm gonna live my life out doing this exact same thing because I
yeah,
know if I try and change anything, it's gonna be uncomfortable, and
exactly.
I'm not any good. So it's like, oh, I'm gonna learn the piano, but
Yeah,
you get to the situation and the experience, and you back out because you're like, well, I'm no good at this anyway. What's going to change? And
exactly.
then you walk back to the same situation again on a day by day basis. Or another analogy, those individuals who get themselves to the gym every January, the first week, yeah, I'm gonna wake up 6 a.m. and get there. But then when it hits the second week, oh, it's too difficult. Let me
Mm,
stay with my fixed mentality.
exactly. Perfect analogy. Hit the nail on the head there. Actually, it'd be interesting to see the stats on that. Go to the New Year's resolution, go to the gym, work out, and then the second week you drop out. I think
Mm.
the results probably would be quite revealing in
I'm
that
sure.
regard.
Well, I'm sure we could find some surveys or some sort of studies on that because
Yeah.
there must be data from all of the gyms. Like my gym, I already noticed from actually it was only Friday where I looked around and I was like, where is everyone from the first week of work? But it is what it is. So yeah, sorry. Continue, Rix, with your next point.
Yeah, that's no worries. And then the second mindset in her work, which she talked about, was the growth mindset. And that
Mm-hmm.
actually means humans are malleable and very fluid.
Mm-hmm.
So if you were to take this kind of mindset, you look at setbacks as opportunities, learnings,
Mm-hmm.
and when you take that on board, the potential then becomes unlimited because you're actually learning new things. You're failing, but you're learning as well, and that's
Mm.
important in developing a growth mindset. Um, when you leave the comfort zone there. The third benefit is building resilience. I mean, I know it, you know it. Life itself, we could
Mm.
say it's just one big roller coaster, right? It's
Yes,
unpredictable.
agreed. Yeah.
You're going to have peaks and troughs in life.
Mm-hmm.
And people shouldn't expect life to be predictable. Sooner or later, would face adversity in some shape or form.
Agreed. Mm.
And the benefit of kind of leaving the comfort zone is that it equips people to handle that change and ambiguity when
Mm.
you do face those certain unpredictable scenarios or challenges in life.
So would that be an example of fight or flight or freeze? Because if it's the case where
Exactly.
you're very very used to jumping out that comfort zone, you're not going to run away from anything that's difficult. It'll be one of those things where it's like, okay, this is the situation. These are the cards that I've been dealt. My idea of fight in a certain situation would be, okay, let's figure it out and try and work out the best outcome. The flight situation would be, I'm going to bury my head in the sand and forget that this even existed. And then the
Exactly.
freeze is, I don't know what I'm doing, sort of thing. If I stay still, the uncomfortable or the discomfort will pass.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Exactly. And it's kind of just really kind of building that resilience to those unknown challenges, which I think it's really, really important. And the final benefit is self-efficacy. Did you say that right?
Yeah, self-efficacy. Yeah, you said it correct. See,
Okay.
we'll make a scientist out of you.
Well, I mean, self
Or a
is
vaccine
still,
scientist, anyway.
well, self is still in my blood. But I'm not sure patients to become a scientist. But
It's all right.
yeah,
Part-time job.
but we'll see. So this was outlined by Albert Bandura. And he defined self-efficacy as an individual's belief in their capacity or ability to execute or perform certain actions
Mm,
in order to achieve a goal. And
mm,
it actually reflects in basically the confidence in your own ability to exert control over your own motivation, behavior, and social environment.
mm-hmm.
And leaving the comfort zone, it is going to require a phase of trial and error. But as with any trial and error, eventually you are going to have some successes. Now, they may be small, but they will still count as a success. And
Mm.
experiencing these successes, it kind of builds our self-efficacy. It builds our belief in our own abilities to achieve our goals. And again, that's really important as well.
Yeah, because yeah, it's definitely very, very important to believe that no goal is is unreachable. You have to believe that there's no limit to my success. There's no limit, that there's nothing can stunt my growth. And if we're using the examples, Rick, so when we discussed last time, or when we were discussing the framework of how this is going to work, if you look
Yeah.
at Cristiano Ronaldo, if you look at Messi, their
Mm.
stories from ground zero to where they are today, there was never this belief of, oh, I'm going to be a typical player. Well, let's take Ronaldo, for example. I'm going to be a typical player in the Premier League.
Yeah.
I'm very sure Cristiano Ronaldo, when he was at Sporting, I'm sure he wasn't thinking, oh, I'm going to end up at Man United. I'm sure
No.
that was not in his game plan. But he ended up at Man United. He ended up tearing up the Premier League, breaking records, gaining accolades left, right, and centre. Had an illustrious career at Real Madrid. And yeah, it's been amazing following his story in that sense. I know you can add more to it because you're more the sports buff than me. Yes, I'm a Man United fan, ladies and gents. Well, both of Man
Yeah.
United fans, but he's more of the sports buff here, so he will know more about the
I
story
mean,
regarding both.
yeah, Cristiano Ronaldo, perfect analogy. I mean, we literally plucked this young boy, I think 17, 18, from Portugal. He's moving to a country, new culture, new climate, and he's alone, and he's working under Sir Alex Ferguson. Now, we're both Man United fans. We all know Sir Alex Ferguson
Mm-hmm.
is, well, in my opinion, the greatest British manager of all time. But we all
Yep.
know the
Mm-hmm.
stories behind his hairdryer treatments.
Yep.
He
Of
flips
course.
out. He can be quite scary, right? And
Yep.
for
That and the Fergie time, definitely. Mm.
exactly for a 17, 18-year-old boy, experiencing that, there is going to be some fear.
Mm-hmm.
But he took that plunge. He took that opportunity to go to Man United, and he always believed in himself. Like, okay, I'm here now. I believe I can get into the first team. I believe I could make a contribution to Man United.
Mm-hmm.
From there, leaving the comfort zone, he's gone on to be known as one of the top two greatest players of all time. Again, same with Messi as well. Just a short story about Messi. Messi, at a young age, he was at Barcelona Academy, but one of the main issues was that he was too small, and they thought
Mm.
that he was never going to make it. Now, Messi, he took the plunge, so he was like, okay, what can I do to help the situation? And,
Mm.
he decided to go along with growth hormones. Again, as a
Mm-hmm.
young kid, that can be quite scary, right?
Yeah,
And
of
you
course,
don't
because it's implementing something. It's the unknown completely. But I
exactly,
guess for his career, he knew that there's certain things that were needed to be involved. There's a certain physique or a certain level of fitness. Mm.
exactly. And again, he took it, and now he is, well, I mean, after that success at the World Cup, I think he's the greatest player of all time, even though it pains me to say that as more of a Ronaldo fan, but we have to respect his accomplishment. But yeah, I mean, in traditional Pepper's Hangtime fashion, I guess it's now time for our personal stories.
Mhm.
So I guess I'll start off with mine.
Well, actually, do you want to rest your voice first, and I can start off with mine because you have been
Yeah,
talking quite a bit.
okay,
Okay, let's flip it
fantastic.
around. Let's flip it around. So, in terms of the new year obviously brings some new challenges. So, audience, I'm going to say something that's going to shock you. I am not talking about divorce. So, on that topic, mainly because that's now, I will delve into it every now and then, but as we're talking about new experiences, we're mainly going to talk about what is in the present and what is actually going on in this current moment. So I want to talk about two experiences regarding being out the comfort zone. So the first one is going to be regarding my career, my job at this current moment. So as I've stated, I moved from academia to industry, and the second is going to be regarding moving in with my current girlfriend, which has been an
Mm,
amazing experience so far. So let's talk about the job. So I was working in academia, and this is research science for a good 7 years. We achieved a lot as a team, loved my team to bits,
mm,
and it was a very comfortable situation, a very comfortable experience. Now, during the fifth and seventh year And yes, ladies and gentlemen, 5th and 7th year. In this day and age, being in a job for more than a year and a half to 3 years, you're seen as a dinosaur, so that must make me a relic, right? So between the 5th and 7th year, we carried out a lot of COVID-19 work, COVID-19 vaccines with our modality, or with our type of vaccine. And we managed to build up a GCLP lab, a clinical trial lab that had just 2 people up to 6 people, and have it function as like an actual accredited lab, which was an amazing feat within itself. During the pandemic, we didn't have no furlough or anything like that. We were fully functional. And that was a very testing time for me as a scientist. And a lot of growth definitely came about because of this. So it was during that time where I kind of thought to myself, you know what? This is a period of discomfort. Everything is new, everything is novel. How do I navigate this? Navigated it very, very well. Jumped in with 2 feet. Well, I didn't particularly have a choice, you know? But then it also became apparent in my mindset, okay, if we can do this with limited resources, what would it be like in a biotech or a big pharma situation? Because
Yeah.
there would be resources, there would be money there to be able to plant an idea and go forward with that idea and develop it and get it to a standard which you can say is clinical trial standard.
But
So,
when you kind
go.
of afraid that it would become a bit too corporate.
Yes, there was all sorts of things that were going through my mind. Hence the reason why I delayed
Uh-huh.
the jump for a little while. So in between 5th and 6th year of my time in academia, I was like, oh, it's a good idea, but it's a bit too scary. Why don't I just stay where I am, where essentially I can be a bigger fish? I know what my day is going to entail, and I have control. But then after the 6th year, I essentially said to myself, you know what? You need a new challenge. You need a new challenge, and you need to find that in a different space. Research science, yes, but let's do it in a fast-paced setting. So the adventure started to look for a role within biotech and big pharma, which unsuccessful the first 2 times of interviews. First time I was too nervous and I thought the role was too big. So yeah, again, I looked up and I was like, oh, there's a glass ceiling. I can't do this, after 5 interviews. The second time around, I would probably say I was underprepared, maybe, but I still didn't have that self-belief that I could jump in and, be this industrial scientist versus academic scientist because, there's too many differences. But the third time around, I said, you know what? I've got the mindset, I have the belief, I have the support from my current girlfriend, who's been amazing regarding the change and everything. It's time to make that jump. Got through the 3 interviews, impressed the panel, and here we are today starting this new role in January 2023. And
How's it
in
been?
terms of the differences, it's been quite a bit of a change. But
Yeah.
after the first week of anxiety, which yet again going back to the infographics that we've spoken about regarding performance and anxiety,
Yeah.
once I got there and once I jumped out of that comfort zone, now that fear zone,
Yeah.
then the growth started. You start to meld in with the team. You start thinking, oh, okay, you know what? I can make plenty of changes here. There's a reason why I'm here. That also links in with imposter syndrome as well, which has been mentioned in one of our other podcast episodes. But it's one of those things where now I'm reaping the benefits after a week or 2 at this new role. And, as much as it was scary, a new challenge was necessary. And as a scientist, growing at a rapid rate. And I'm very, very excited to see what myself and the current team will achieve during this year, because there's some big things that are going on in the academic space. And with this startup, there's a lot of implementation and there's a lot of room for change and a lot of room for things to be moved forward. But we will achieve something excellent with the products that we are producing. So, yeah. And
Awesome.
obviously,
Awesome.
in industry, being in biotech as well and being in a startup, you have to wear many different hats. So it's learning across the full board, which is lovely.
How many hats would you say you're currently wearing?
I would say right now I'm wearing the hat that I should be wearing, which is analytical scientist, but at the same time I'm also wearing the hat of, okay, let's do a little bit of admin, let's sort out invoices, let's, do a little bit of management. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think in terms of the growth mindset, my fixed mindset has now changed to a growth mindset in terms of my working life, my job life, my career life, which is great because there obviously were many other changes initially I'll touch on it once, obviously
Yeah.
regarding divorce and that whole process, which led to a cascade of different changes in my life, which is very
Yeah.
important. So that's one thing. And then I'll go very, very quickly regarding moving in with the girlfriend. And then we're going to move over to you, Ricky. So, yeah. So, in terms of moving in with the girlfriend, obviously with divorce, yeah, again, mentioned before, cascade of different changes. I was very, very fearful of doing it. Mainly because, yet again, it's me relying, well, I won't say relying on a relationship, but relying on that connection, having that trust that nothing is going to go wrong. And then the essential thoughts and feelings of, okay, I'm now going to share a space with someone else. I have done this before and it failed, and failed
Yeah.
in a very short space of time. Is this potentially going to happen again?
Mm.
So, obviously, yet again, if we go back to the green flags episodes, communication. In terms of the communication, it's definitely been a
Mhm.
5-4. You
Yeah.
know, obviously, you can't maintain a level 5. That's a lot of effort, especially in this
Yeah.
working world and everything that goes on in life. Again, you're thrown a lot of ambiguity in life, as you stated before, Rix.
Mm.
But communication has been up in terms of attachment style. We both have secure attachment styles, so we know how to talk to each other and we know how to support each other. You
Yeah.
know, and it's never the case of having 1 foot in, 1 foot out. It's 2 feet in when it comes to this relationship. So
Agree.
I've been
Agree.
welcomed into this new home, and I've been welcomed in a nice, positive fashion, and reaping the benefits of being in a partnership, being in a romantic partnership. So
Awesome.
you know, accountability and everything, all under the or all being out there. It's been an
Yeah.
amazing experience, and yes, we're now working together to reach some pretty amazing goals, which I'm sure I'll share with this on this journey within our relationship and purpose hang time.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's been a blast, and it's been such a great change to the new year. So
No,
yeah.
that's awesome to hear, dude. And yeah, I mean, when am I gonna get the invite for dinner over at the at your
Now
new
you've already had a passing invite where we got some of the podcast stuff sorted, but yeah, we'll sort out a proper invite before you move to your next foray, your next adventure, which that is a perfect segue onto your experiences, sir.
Yeah, I mean, similar to you, there has been a change in my professional working career and also a change in my personal. Now, don't worry, I haven't gone into a relationship. It's me moving to an entirely new country for this job. And just to give you, a bit of background, so I've been at my previous company for almost 4 years now. I work in the SaaS industry.
So
For
you're a
those,
dinosaur, not a relic. That's good.
yeah,
Or were a dinosaur.
exactly, exactly. I'm kind of, not like a fossil, so to speak. Yeah, but yeah. So I work in the SaaS industry. For those that don't know what SaaS is, it's basically software as a service, and it's selling software. That's my role within that organization in the sales team. And to be fair, that company, I still do. I really really like it,
Hmm.
and I love the people there. The people there is what made the company for me, and made my time so amazing and enjoyable. But it came to a point where, 4 years in, as a part of the sales team, or there was certain glass ceiling which I felt in terms of my career development. Where can I move up from here, um, and where could I kind of develop and acquire new skills? For
Yes, of
example,
course. Very
and
important in this
yeah,
thing that we call life.
and where can I challenge myself really? And in a way, speaking to the close circle of mine within there were a few people. I'm not going to name names, but they did say, "Look, Rick, I think you're undervalued here at this company." So that kind of planted a little seed in the back of my mind. And it wasn't until last November when I came to Copenhagen for a week. And I've been to Copenhagen 5 or 6 times now. I mean, I love the city. The culture and the people there is just amazing. So I had casual Friday drinks with two friends of mine. and my potential boss as well, which I only realized was coming until the very last minute. So one of the friends were like, "Hey, how's it going at your current company? What's your kind of next move there?"
Mhm.
And that made me kind of think about it. I was like, you know, I want to move into this area, but I'm not sure if there's an opportunity for me to move into that specific area. And
Mhm.
then, one of my friends was like, "Oh, okay, well, in our current company, we're looking for a head of self-development role,
Mhm.
where you actually get to help build the kind of inbound and outbound sales function, and you get to kind of
Mhm.
build a team." Which I thought, "Oh, okay." And when you have a few drinks, you'll be like, "Oh, yeah, yeah, send me the link." Like
Mhm.
I'll have a look at it, but I don't think I'll apply for it, right? So I got the link, and then on the Saturday, before I was meeting you know two of the people that are very close to me here. I'm not going to call them by their names. Let's just say it's M1 and M2. So
Mhm.
before I was doing M1 and M2, so they were taking me to Tivoli, which is the main theme park in Copenhagen. I had a
Okay.
whole month to myself to just basically walk around the city and kind of
Mm.
really absorb everything that was discussed on that previous day in
Mhm.
terms of the job. And kind of now they did say that if we were to offer you the job, you most likely would have to move to Copenhagen. So that was another
Mm.
aspect I had to reconsider and think about as
But
well.
an excellent opportunity as well, because
Exactly.
geographical travel is one of those things where it's one of those things that's always difficult. The only experience that I had is just Uganda with with my past workplace. So kudos to you for accepting the challenge, accepting the mission. Mm.
Yeah, and that morning was an ideal opportunity. Me to myself, really think about it, walk around, and then when I came back to the UK, one of the closest people to me in that company.
Mhm.
So they had a conversation with me. They were like, first day back, you look miserable. What's up? And it wasn't until they said that when I felt like, okay, I've kind of lost the spark now. And people that work in sales would appreciate that when you lose that spark to basically do your job, then you kind of know it's time to move on. So I say, why not? Applied for it, did the first interview, kind of lucky I got a second one. Basically, the person that was interviewing me, was really lovely.
Mhm.
The way Danish pronounce certain names is totally different because they miss some letters out. So I
Yeah.
kept calling her as an English native speaker would.
Mhm.
And then on the next interview, so it was two-stage interview. First with her, second was with the CEO, where I had to present a 3, 6, and 12-month plan
Mhm.
about what am I going to be doing and how I'm going to be building a sales function. And bear in mind, I've never done this before. I had to think really long and hard about it. And then they said, look, really like what you presented to us. One negative thing at that second interview, you're a bit too ambitious. Maybe you
Yeah.
need to scale back your ambitions a little bit, which
But
if that's
then
your negative, I'll take
mm,
that.
there's nothing. Yeah, okay, fair enough. It's a slight negative in terms of the realism, how
Yeah,
realistic it is. But by you not setting yourself a limit and believing that you can, have the ambition to set up these certain apparatus or these certain ideas or mindset
yeah,
within the company, that's what a lot of companies want. Can you
yeah,
generate those ideas, and can you come with the impetus to do that?
exactly. It's going switching from kind of a fixed mindset, saying I don't think I could do this, to growth
Mm.
mindset. You know, maybe I can. So they offered me the job. It was fairly, fairly rapidly. I heard back from them, but then they said, okay, well, you have to move to Copenhagen, and it took me a week again to delve that because I'm relocating to a new country. I'm leaving behind friends, family in the UK,
Mhm.
and moving to. Even though I've been to Copenhagen 5 or 6 times, it's still kind of a new foray, right? A new challenge,
Mm-hmm.
new experience.
Mm.
Um, but then I thought long and hard to myself, what's the worst that could happen?
Mm-hmm.
Touch wood, it could all go wrong, but at least I've
Yep.
had that experience, I've had that opportunity, and if I didn't take that opportunity, I would have regretted it. So it's been almost 3 weeks now, um, and I'm loving it so far.
Mm-hmm. Amazing. That's what we like to hear.
Yeah, I mean, this week has been my first full week,
Mm-hmm.
and being able to come in from a company where it already has established processes, frameworks, methodologies,
Mm-hmm.
literally going into a company where you start off from ground zero, where
Mm.
you literally helping them build what's the framework, what's the methodology, what's the sequences, how do we reach out to prospects,
Mm-hmm.
certain techniques that we can use to help
Mm.
forecast deals, for example.
Mm-hmm.
That is a lot of work, but I relish that challenge, right? And everyone's been so nice and lovely. And don't get me wrong, my previous company, I'm always going to keep in touch with most of the
Mm.
people there. I've made some really close friends. Some I count as family, but it's a case of not looking back and moving forwards. And so it's one of those things where I'm really enjoying at the moment. And side note, again, moving into Copenhagen, start looking at apartments where I want to live, um, as well as going to be a great, a great adventure.
Yep.
I know there's going to be like ups and downs, but I'm just going to chuck myself in and really go for the ride, and yeah,
Mm-hmm.
see what year and see how this year goes. Really.
Yes, so yeah, over here, Purpose Hang Time, well, myself, because I know this is both of us anyway, we're proud of the achievements because, it's not, these are not easy decisions to make. And okay, yes, fair enough. You can incorporate and say staying in this country would be the comfort zone, but it's just that being able to accept and understand I'm going
Mm.
to learn more by moving out and accepting this challenge and opportunity. The comfort zone is never going to disappear. Where you call home is never going to disappear. You know.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where it's amazing that you have managed to pull yourself out there and say, you know what, I'm going to take this challenge by the scruff of its neck, go out there and see what is out there. And yeah, again, it gives me a perfect excuse to go to Denmark. That's one thing. It's been on the list for myself and my other half
Yeah.
for a while. So yeah, we're all for it, mate. And when it comes to that as well, we'll just keep up the communication and make sure you're not working too hard out there. So,
Oh yeah, don't worry.
always got to keep that up.
I have certain people here that are going to make sure I'm not going to be working too hard.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no, no, I appreciate that. And kind of the next thing so we just give some tips and advice. And again, we don't want to be preachy. We're
Mm-hmm.
not saying this is gospel truth. You have to follow it. But if you can take, any help or any advice from this content, then we know we've done our
Mm-hmm.
job. Our kind of mission is, it is two guys shooting the breeze, but if we can help someone, whether directly or indirectly, then that's also a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
So ways to step up your comfort zone. So I'm just gonna run through these lists very quickly.
Yep, no
Number
worries,
one,
man.
be aware of what's outside of your comfort zone. What
Mm-hmm.
are the things that you believe are worth doing, but afraid of doing it because of potential for disappointment or failure. Best you
Mm-hmm.
could do, write down a list, so you have it visually on paper, and you can
Mm-hmm.
see, okay, if I want to achieve this, how do I go it? Or,
Yep.
if I don't achieve this, is it going to lead to failure, for example?
Yeah,
So
having the understanding of the pipeline.
exactly,
Yeah, so you can at least say, okay, well, by writing down, you've committed to it, and
exactly.
by looking at it every day, you've committed to it, or often as
Yeah.
possible. Hmm.
And number two, become clear about what you're aiming to overcome. Take those lists of discomforts and go a bit deeper. I mean, remember, the primary emotion you're trying to overcome is fear. How does this fear apply uniquely to each situation? An example, oh, public speaking. Never done it before. I'm going to shit myself if I do it. But hey, what's the worst that could happen? What, they all
Mm-hmm.
stay silent? Doesn't matter. That's where you can practice with a group of friends. See how it works.
Exactly.
Um, Number three, you got to get comfortable with discomfort. One way to get outside of your comfort zone is to literally expand it. Make it a goal to avoid running away from discomfort. Now, maybe you're not the most confident when it comes to speaking to women, for example. But hey, why not speak to speak to a woman at the bar for first 5 minutes? Doesn't
Mm,
have to be more than that. Just say, hey, how you doing? What brought you here? Just to get a bit more comfortable with the uncomfortable.
Or even another example of getting used to or being comfortable with discomfort. Let's take the analogy of the cold shower. Now, everyone, well, all the people that I know like nice warm showers. I know with me, I like a Turkish sauna every now and then.
Yeah,
The idea of a cold shower is not appealing to me. However, it's one of those things where if I was to turn on the shower, walk into
yeah,
it while it's freezing, it's the idea of the cold shower that makes you flinch. It's the idea of the
exactly.
cold shower that is fearful. But once you get in there after a couple of seconds, it then I won't say it becomes enjoyable, but you get past the idea of, oh, this is horrible, but it becomes bearable. That's the perfect example of being comfortable with discomfort. You have to sometimes take those steps to experience something that's not exactly pleasant, but you get there and you learn from doing that. You expand your ability to deal with discomfort.
Exactly, exactly. Number four, don't be afraid to fail. Treat failure as a teacher. What did you learn from the experience? If you can take some learning from it, then it's not time wasted. It's more about, okay, I've gained something. I've learned a
Hmm.
lesson. Plus, a lot of famous people have failed before succeeding. Classic example, I mean, as a sports buff, I'm going to use Michael Jordan, but you've also got Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, Walt
Hmm.
Disney, and one of my own personal heroes, Bruce Lee as well.
Hmm.
They've had to fail before they succeeded, and all those names I mentioned are like household names. Like most people around the world have heard of them, so
Hmm.
don't be afraid. And also take baby steps as well. Don't try
Hmm.
to jump outside your comfort zone and take one massive jump forward. You can take small steps at a time. So, for example, if your goal is to, I don't know, like bulk up, or you really want to have a summer body, but you
Hmm.
hate cardio, instead of doing like going from the start and doing like an hour jog a day, maybe do 10 minutes. Ease
Yep.
yourself into it, and then once you do that, your body will get used to it, and then slowly you'll get there as well.
And a perfect
Um,
example of that, before you go into the next step, I'm preparing
yeah,
for a tough mudder in May. And the
yeah,
baby steps that I've taken, I've decided, okay, let's take action from the beginning and let's start off with nice, slow workouts in all of December/November. And now
yeah.
I'm starting to ramp it up now that I'm more comfortable with the workout regime. So, my cousins, if you listen to this or watching this, watch out because when I ramp it up, you're gonna see my dust when I cross that finish line.
Yeah, exactly. And then where were we? Number six? Was it number six?
Yes, number six.
Okay, number six. Hang out with risk takers. Now, you if you want to become better at something, it's not a necessity, but it's good to start hanging around with people who are doing what you want to do, and
Mm,
start emulating or learning from them. For example, so if you want to become a sales manager, hang around with other sales managers. Pick their brains. How would you approach this situation or overcome this challenge? And inevitably, their influence will start to have effect on your behavior. Not to go to too much scientific detail. I think there is like a scientific model or psychological model
Well, I
behind.
think that essentially goes with the whole idea of you are a product of your five closest people.
Yeah,
So essentially, you are influenced by those who are around you. Therefore, if you introduce, let's say your five closest friends are millionaires, you are more likely to become a millionaire because their mindset of how to generate that money and that income becomes your mindset because you're
yeah,
around them most of the time. So yeah.
exactly. And the final thing is, don't take yourself too seriously. You've got to learn to laugh at yourself when you make mistakes. Risk taking would inevitably involve failure and setbacks that will sometimes make you look foolish to others. but be happy to roll with the punches, right? Classic
Mm-hmm.
example, and again, I want to use one of my personal inspirations, Bruce Lee.
Mm-hmm.
Um, One of his goals was to become a leading man in Hollywood. And when he first said that, everyone laughed at him. You're not going to
Mm-hmm.
make it. No, no Western world wants to accept an Asian leading man. You know what he did? He was like, screw this. Went back to Hong Kong, produced some of the greatest martial arts movies of all time. Hollywood took notice, came back and begged him, literally begged
Yep.
him to star
Mm-hmm.
in their new movie Enter the Dragon. And from there, he achieved his goal. So, and he
Mm-hmm.
was always on the mindset. Yeah, people are
Mm-hmm.
going to laugh at me now, but I'm going to show them. Always have that
Mm.
mindset, and you also got to be have fun with it as well. Enjoy the process of stepping outside your boundaries, discovering new things about yourself, and
Mm.
that's when you really learn. And yeah, I think that's it really.
Yeah, and yeah, again, all of these, the 9 points that we've established today, is all it. We reiterate that and perpetuate that within the Purpose Hang Time as well. A lot of people thought we were crazy when we said, "Oh, let's start up a podcast." It's like you and Ricky. Why? What are you going to talk about? And here we are today, being in the top 50 of health and fitness podcasts in Denmark. Ironically enough, where Ricky is going to. Maybe he planted some seeds over there on his other trips. But yeah, so those are,
It was a bit of shameless self promotion I did. So
and it's the same with me and my family, which essentially is a village. So, but the word has got out there and we're enjoying the process. So yeah, so those are the ways to break out your comfort zone. And now we're going to end up with just some final remarks and some quotes in which, yeah. So in terms of the final remarks, I always remember a YouTube video I watched a few years back, the black experience in Japan, and a guy called Kenzo who basically states in one of his videos, the comfort zone is where dreams go to die.
mm,
I'm going to repeat that again. The comfort zone is where dreams go to die. So if you do have that dream and you do have an idea and you're scared of it, jump in there with 2 feet or jump in there 1 foot, a toe, a big toe, whatever. Just sample that external environment, because at the end of the day, if it doesn't work out, it hasn't worked out. At least you can say, that's ticked off the list. Let's not do that again. Or if it did work out, I'm happy to make that change. And that leads me perfectly onto the quotes for today, in which we got two of them. Two of them. Good quotes. So the first one, Nelson Mandela. May your choices reflect your hopes and not your fears. Lovely quote. And the second one by Eleanor Roosevelt. Do one thing every day that scares you. And these two quotes, in their entirety, essentially take up everything that we've spoken about during this podcast. And it's very, very important to delve outside your comfort zone every once in a while. Yet again, we all have different levels of tolerance when it comes to discomfort, but it is important to improve yourself as a human bit by bit every day. Go out there and get those experiences. So from the Purpose Hang Time team, we'd like to say thank you very much for listening, and we'll catch you on our next episode.
yeah, thank you so much.
Keep shooting that breeze.